Sox.
Climb into your heart on twisted.
Cowboys swings, makes fastball, deep left center field. Mullins looks up, and it's out of here.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Mets recap at noon. I'm your host Rashid McDonald, and last night the New York Mets took on the Boston Red Sox, and it was pretty much the same that we saw over the weekend against the New York Yankees and over the last couple of games. Right, the Mets have lost their last four, right, of their last 5 games, and they haven't scored, and that's been the issue. It's getting the hit with runners in scoring position. The Mets have had ample chances and ample opportunities, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to discuss where I see some of the faults in them not being able to get those runs across the plate. And we're going to dig into all of the Juan Soto news, again having to stand on the soapbox and say my piece as it concerns Juan Soto. So we have your reactions, but first, let's get to the highlights. Mets and Pete Alonso looking to get that stench of Yankee Stadium off him. And in the first inning, clanks one off of the Green Monster, tries to stretch it into a double, but gets tagged out at second base as we take another look. Tag right there on the chest before he makes contact with the bag. Kodai Senga looking to get his 5th win of the season. Bottom first, Jarren Duran right by Pete Alonso, and it'll hit off of the sidewall, and that'll be a double to get it started for the Red Sox. Couple batters later, Alex Bregman, he's gonna hit that one up the middle. That will be called out, and the run will come to score. Red Sox lead 1-0. Later on, Trevor Story is going the other way past third baseman Brett Beatty, and that will bring in another run for the Red Sox for a 2-run first inning. Bottom second, Jarren Duran again past first base, and that one is going to go all the way to the wall. Juan Soto is going to play it off of the wall, and that'll be a triple for Jarren Duran. That'll bring in the run, 3-0 Red Sox. Top 9, Aroldis Chapman, 6+ ERA against the Mets, but he's going to get the game-ending double play. Red Sox will win the game. Tonight, we have the return of Walker Buehler for the Boston Red Sox, and for the Mets, we have Clay Holmes, who is looking to just get back on track. Not that he's been off track, but his last start was in the rain and the elements, and it wasn't his best. So he knows the Red Sox very well, as he's seen them last year, and hopefully he can use the good that he's done this year to get some, last year, the good that he's done this year against the team that he's faced last year and get some better results. Now let's get into the big part of the news, right? So the Yankees won the series against the New York Mets, and for the life of me, I do not understand how this works sometimes. Now, I could say I don't understand. I should understand, seeing as I was born and raised in the Bronx, but it just baffles me, right? How forever it's always been, we don't care about the Mets, right? They're Jeter with the famous meme, they're just the Mets. All of those things that come out, right? And it only comes out when it's convenient, right? Like last year when the Mets swept the Yankees, both games at home and at Yankee Stadium, it was, well, your Mets won your World Series, hang up the banner, blah, blah, blah. Now, Yankee fans are like, yeah, I want that banner. And it's all because of this Juan Soto thing. Now, I've seen this before, where teams have lost one of their best players, and it just comes back to break teams, right? And sometimes it doesn't always, like Mookie Betts, for example, should have never been traded from the Boston Red Sox. Boston goes on, they win a championship, they trade him before the start of the 2020 season, and then Mookie Betts goes on and he wins a World Series with the Dodgers, and then he wins one last season with the Dodgers. So he's won 2 championships with the Dodgers, won 1 with the Boston Red Sox, multiple MVP. I mean, what can I say, right? That's kind of one of the best examples of a trade where, you know, a team like the Boston Red Sox and their fans should be sick to their stomachs because of giving up on a guy like Mookie Betts. And call it like it is. They gave up on him. They didn't want to sign him, right? They didn't want that responsibility of having to deal with that contract. I don't know what decline they saw in their future, in their rearview mirror, or whatever it was, you know, that the Red Sox used to kind of predict what a star is supposed to be. But they didn't sign him. They didn't sign Xander Bogaerts. They went with Rafi Devers, and now look at that. That's turning out. Anyways, moving along. Juan Soto only played 1 season with the Yankees. And honestly, he was a mercenary, right? He was somebody that came in. He helped get them to the World Series. And then now all of a sudden he owes them. He owes the bleacher creatures who showed him so much love. How can he turn his back? How can he, after game 5, stand in front of his locker and says, I'm available to all 30 teams? You see, it's funny to me how it's okay for Shohei Ohtani to duck questions or nobody questioned Shohei because of his motives. Now, everybody was pissed off, but they got over it so fast, right? Then the news came out about the gambling issue with his interpreter, and then, you know, Shohei's in everybody's good graces again. Like, you know, he's the victim. He's, you know, everybody's favorite son. But Juan Soto does the same, and he's at fault, right? Like, Shohei Ohtani didn't want to come to either the Mets or the Yankees because he didn't want to deal with the media. Doesn't like dealing with the media, doesn't like the pressure, doesn't like the lights being so bright in the microscope. Meanwhile, Juan Soto handled it beautifully last season. They say, oh, because of Aaron Judge. People need to pick a side of the fence and stand on it. You either do not like the guy, you hate him, want to boo him, or either or. But what blows my mind even more is how professionals, right? Not good old me, who's out here doing a YouTube video, or who, you know, occasionally from time to time goes and does some reporting and, you know, get some interviews and try to get some insight into what's going on. Professionals. Let's start with ESPN. ESPN was the one broadcasting the game. And you know what's funny? They're coming back, and they're coming to Citi Field to broadcast the Mets and Dodgers. To see how that turns out. Anyways, ESPN, Carl Ravitch goes on and he says that Juan Soto was given some benefits in his contract. His family gets private chartered flights, and he gets to fly with them on the road. Completely false. And even Jeff Passan went and he confirmed that that was completely false. Then to make matters worse, you got the all-time, you know, and in all due respect, right, from the Bronx, you know, whatever, right? Respect to Michael Kay, he's a legend in the game, but you got to call it like you see it, right? You got to call it like you see it. I don't know what his problem is. I don't know what his issue is, right? But he's kind of put his foot in his mouth when he comes out and he says he has good intel with people on the inside saying that Juan Soto chose the Yankees. But family, and I'm gonna come out and say it because this is what everyone, you know, who has a problem has been saying, that his mom chose the Mets and that was the decision he came down to. I want to give a big shout out to KFC, right, from Barstool, because he kind of laid it out perfectly. You want to talk crap about Juan Soto because he didn't, run out a potential base hit that DJ LeMahieu, had to make a dive for. Okay, that's fine. But there's plenty of players who do that in the major leagues, right? It's just funny to me how nobody gave a crap when someone who hasn't done anything in this game, right, playing for the Atlanta Braves, does that mistake, and he gets no talking to, nobody pulls him aside, nobody gives a damn. Oh, well, he thought it was out. And we kind of thought it was out too. We don't blame him for that. But Juan Soto thought, I'm not going to get to first. He's going to throw me out. I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to risk injury. Tristan Casas, how you doing? Hope you get better. Hope you feel better, right? Even Manny Machado's gone on record. Manny Machado notoriously blew his knee out trying to beat out a ground ball to first base. I'm not saying that every time you run it out to first base, you're going to get hurt. Yes, you should always hustle out the box. But you can't sit here and say, let the kids play or let people have their own personalities and then turn your back on them and say, well, you know what? It's about time you need to start hustling. And that goes to listen, that goes to anybody saying it. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is on wax. People say, oh, well, let him be who he is. Well, how do you expect this man to feel comfortable being who he is if everything he does is going to get ripped apart to shreds? I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say, I'm going to criticize him the most because he's getting paid the most, right? A $50 million cut, which is not really 50 million, it's about 48 or whatever, or 46, but still the highest paid AAV in baseball. We're going to criticize you the most. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pick you apart the most. We're going to break you down. We're going to tear you down to the knees. And this, I'm sorry, this is where, and I'm going to try to have a conversation with him next time I see him. But this is where, the Brandon Nimmo's, the Francisco Lindors, they need to kind of step up in the JD Martinez kind of role, kind of way. Where it's like, okay, I understand, right? Andy Martino put out a report that Sterling Marte's kind of been the one trying to handle, his transition to the team. We all agree that Francisco Lindor should be captain, right? Well, I think it's time to really just sit down and break the monotony. Whatever it is, I do not care, man. I do not care. Right now, at this point, it's optics. We gotta kill that noise, right? Listen, I understand you're probably not feeling the most confident right now, and it's showing a lot, and that's okay, right? But this is what upsets me. We out here, we say, oh, let's go ahead. As men, we need to be more willing to be able to talk, right? The Jaron Duran story, right? Wonderful story. Glad he came out and talked. But you can't turn around and say, nah, I'm going to just kill this kid, 26-year-old, I might add. He's only 26 years old, for Christ's sake. He's only 26 years old. And you think he's not going to have some moments where, all right, maybe some maturity needs to kick in. Okay, understandable. But the ripping, have we not learned anything from the Lindor situation? Lindor knows this more than anyone. I think it's time to really, really, really have a team bonding experience. And I'm not saying that the Mets are a bad team, no. But right now, chemistry is funky. It's starting to stink. And we need to start spraying some Febreze in the clubhouse so we can start feeling a little bit better about what we look at the mirror, right? And again, this is not indicative of the performance because there is some performance issues, but that's not at the forefront of the conversation. Right now, at the forefront of the conversation, we're talking about, does Juan Soto really want to be a Met? What are we saying? The guy put pen to paper. Conversation done. And then for everyone, oh, that opt-out is coming in 5 years. I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, we're not even half a season in to year one. What are we saying? Honestly, have a little bit more self-respect. Let's report on facts. Let's talk about real issues. I want to point out something about Juan Soto during the Yankee series. It's something that came out that I really want to talk about, right? So up to this point, right, about 2 days ago, up to that point, right, Soto has played 45 games for the Mets. One game that he sat out. So, right, in 46 games, he played 45 up to that point, right? He's reached base multiple times in 28 of those games. He has an 888 OPS over his last 26 games, right? With 5 doubles, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, and no one's talking about that. Honestly, that's kind of crazy. Anyways, 22 walks, 26 hits, 19 runs scored during that span. Knock it off. He plays his game the way he plays. You cannot sit there and say, let them play the way they play, and then turn around and be Mr. Get Off My Lawn and say, no, he's not doing it right. Excuse me, we're talking about a World Series champion. We're talking about a multiple-time All-Star. We're talking about potentially one of the best hitters in our generation. And listen, I love you, Aaron Judge. I love what you do. I like how you go about your business. Quiet, calm, cool, collect. Got no issues with you. But facts are facts, dogs. And when it mattered the most, who was the one that stepped up? Period. Listen, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Knock it off. For real, man. Let's talk about what's really going on. You want to say, listen, he needs to step up a little bit more, be more aggressive. Okay, say that. You say, hey, listen, he turned, all right, he stared at a single, which, to be honest, he thought it was gone. The same thing happened with Alonso. He thought it was gone, right? Didn't Hamilton hit something off the wall and that was a single because it was played good? We're talking about Fenway Park. It's hard to play it off that wall. So a single's a single. Listen, I would have been fine if Pete Alonso would have been at first base after that hit in the first inning. I would have been A-okay with that. I'm not about to get in his business over him not running that out today. Yet last night. There ain't no way. Because he thought it was out and it wasn't out. He stood on first. He stole the base to get to second. He did his job. Come on, man. What are we talking about? People really need to pick battles because this is the same old story. The same old thing that people done over and over again. And then you wonder why people are just emotionally tired. This dude hasn't even played half a season, and I am pretty sure he is tired of having to answer questions. I do not blame him. People were so mad, bent out of shape because the Knicks front office wasn't taking questions and comments from media. And they should. Listen, Juan Soto's not ducking smoke. He knows all anybody was gonna ask him about was him shaking Aaron Judge's hand, or Aaron Judge coming up to him and shaking his hand, and what was said between him and Aaron Judge, and how does he feel? How did the crowd feel? The same questions they were asking him for the last 2 days. You think he wants to go day 3 of answering the same questions? And I'm not gonna lie, I give him a tremendous amount of respect to say, you know what, I think I need to bow out of this. I'm not making this about myself. This is a team sport. We're playing as a team. I'm not about to sit here and answer questions about the Yankees. I'm not about to sit here and answer questions about Aaron Judge. Do I miss my team? We're not talking about that. And I'm pretty sure that was relayed to them. Listen, if we're going to talk about Aaron Judge, I'm not talking about this. To the point where Aaron Judge had to come out before the game, dap him up so people could just lay off the dude. Again, Love you, Aaron Judge. Shout out to you, my guy. Shout out to you. I don't care how many balls you drop in the outfield during the World Series. Yankee fans owe you a debt of gratitude. I don't care what your performance looked like. They owe you a debt of gratitude. Why? Because you chose to stay right where you are. So they owe you a debt of gratitude. Juan Soto doesn't owe them a debt of gratitude. They owe him a debt of gratitude. They should have applauded him. I don't care about him going to Queens. You don't like it, of course you're not going to like it. You want to boo him, boo him. But he definitely deserves more respect than he's given because of the simple fact that he took y'all to the World Series. Your first World Series in 14 years, I might add. Man, let's stop talking about this. Tonight, Red Sox, Mets. You already know the vibes. I'm Rasheed McDonald. This is your Mets recap at noon. Hadusai.